Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studio in Cumming, Georgia, it's time for FOCO Talks, brought to you by the Forsyth County Chamber of Commerce.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of FOCO Talks, the official podcast for the Forsyth County Chamber of Commerce. And we are broadcasting live from the Forsyth Business RadioX studio located in beautiful Cumming, Georgia. I am your host, Michelle Daniels, and I am the Vice President of Business Development and Marketing for the Chamber. If you're unfamiliar with the Forsyth County Chamber, the mission has remained the same since our inception in 1954, to increase prosperity and to promote and improve the community and quality of life for all. If you would like to learn more about the initiatives we are working on or to get your business plugged in, I highly encourage you to visit focochamber.org. Today's episode is an international conversation and hot topic amongst the business community. I am so excited to be joined by three amazing leaders who are leading the efforts for workforce development in Forsyth County, working tirelessly to create job opportunities for the current and future pipeline of job seekers. I am joined by the Chamber's newest team member, Brooke Stahl, who we are so thrilled to join our staff as the Director of Workforce Development to tackle this initiative. Welcome, Brooke.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So glad you're here. We are also joined by Valery Lowe, the Director of College and Career Development with the Forsyth County Schools. So welcome, Valery.
Thank you for having me.
So happy you're here. Our third guest is no stranger to the FOCO Talks podcast, Forsyth Chamber's Board Chair for 2022, Mr. Derek Brooks. Welcome back, Derek.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk.
We're excited to have you talk. So, Brooke, September is actually the National Workforce Development Month. Could you walk our listeners through what that means and just why workforce development right now is such a critical topic?
Well, it is critical. It's not more than just a month. It needs to be years and years or celebrated every month. We are at the peak of the pandemic. In April of 2020, the Georgia Department of Labor recorded over 6,000 claims in Forsyth County alone. We now hover around 50 claims in Forsyth County, with current unemployment for Forsyth County at 2.2%, with the state at 3%. So this started long before I started in my position, and so I'm actually going to ask Derek to explain what prompted the Chamber to be involved with workforce development prior to my arrival.
Sure. So, workforce development is a thing that the Chamber has always done, but not necessarily with individual programs. I've been the board liaison. Before I was board chair, I was the board liaison for the I guess it's officially, I think it was the education committee. So we called it education, and as a result of the unemployment spike due to the whatever happened in 2020, I don't know how to talk about it anymore. So whatever it was in 2020 that made people not have jobs, we said we need to spend some intentional time in this space, and we actually converted the education committee into the workforce development committee. Yeah, there's been a lot of, it wasn't just a problem for Forsyth County, it was a problem nationwide. You're here as a result of that, Brooke. We intentionally hired you for this position and created the position because of the workforce issues that we're having.
It's unfortunate that it's happening, but I appreciate the opportunity there.
and we appreciate that you're here.
I think your role was probably the most celebrated amongst the entire community, including the team. So we're very happy to have you here.
Absolutely. So as Derek mentioned, Forsyth County is not the only county facing this issue. It is nationwide. Employers are facing drastic challenges as the pandemic spawned what is now being coined the Great Resignation. So in 2021, they saw more than 47 million workers quit their jobs. That's pretty astonishing of a number to see.
Absolutely.
Now there's terms such as the Great Reshuffle that are being used as the workforce is being hired someplace else. A lot of the workforce is seeking more flexibility, better compensation, a stronger company culture, and even that work-life balance. Some that have stayed with their current company are still seeking that work-life balance, which is now being coined that quiet quitting that we're starting to hear about. So we're here to fix it, right? We have a magic wand. don't we?
I like that. Show me the magic wand.
I'm trying to get my nose to twitch like in Bewitched, but it's not. So the Chamber is further strengthening its partnership with Forsyth County Schools with a focus already in place on the future talent pipeline. Forsyth County Schools have already been working on the future talent pipeline long before the crisis. One of the most recent events held was for recent high school graduates. Valerie, could you share a little bit about the launch event that launched in June?
Absolutely. We had studied a lot of national best practices on how to help students who wanted to transition directly into the workforce make that process seem a little bit more seamless. We are blessed in Forsyth County that a large percentage of our students go on directly to a 2 or 4 year college. However, we felt like there was a big gap between the support that we felt like we could provide for students and families who wanted to navigate what that transition looked like. A lot of us were born and raised in Forsyth County, and we want our students to come back and reinvest in the community as well. So launch really was pre-pandemic in the works, again, studying some great examples that we had seen across the state of Georgia and nationally, really to give kids that are graduating on a Friday or a Saturday, the next week, that notion of what am I going to do the next week after high school graduation. So the program was developed with a lot of our community partners. It came out of some needs assessment work on our end that we needed to be doing a better job of preparing those students. So the program officially began last summer with a small pilot group of students who, again, did not identify when they graduated that they had a plan to go on to whether that be a technical college, 4-year college, or some type of certificate program. So we partnered with Be More Learning. We partnered with the Forsyth County Chamber as well as Lanier Technical College and had a wonderful 3-day event really of a boot camp training, hands on the ground, get ready, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of setting goals and looking at what motivates individual students. But again, it gave them that option, especially with Lanier Tech being involved, to see all the programs that were available to them and many at no cost to them. So either they had that experience to maybe enroll at the technical college through those several days on campus, or they were able to, at the end of that, through our employment fair, the last day we had I think over 30 companies that participated in that event. So the students had the opportunity to come dress for success. That third day, we had practice mock interviewing with them to go in and actually meet with employers on site that day, as well as interview for those that were ready to do on-site interviews. So it was a really, really valuable time, we felt like, and really the example of this partnership coming together is a kind of a culminating event for us that first year.
It was such a great event to be at. And actually, those were my first 3 days of employment. And to see those students so engaged for all 3 days and to show back up each and every day on time and to know that they were not going to be marked absent anywhere and they still showed up. Yeah. So that wasn't going on their permanent record.
Well, the thing that impressed me was on day one, some of them were wearing like their PJ pants, but on day 3, they're wearing suits and ties. And I mean, it's all because of things they learned in the program to be ready to be part of the workforce. I think it's fantastic.
And it was great. We were able to also send the information out to families of graduates from 2021, because really that's that time that students may or may not have, some went virtual, some were with us. So we also opened it up. So we had students who actually graduated the year prior, which was cool to see them back with us, if you will. Again, they're all adults by that point. They've already graduated from Forsyth County Schools, but we were glad to be able to provide that support for families, because a lot of those kids may return or decide that college is not for them. And we were able to, provide a little bit more support and structure for those students and families who really didn't know what the next step should be for their students. So I hope that can continue as well.
So as we think through the current talent pipeline, where did those workers go? Where did those employees go? So in looking it up, there was a report from Pew Research Center that baby boomers are leaving the workforce. As of late 2021, they're reporting 50.3% of adults 55 and older saying that they retired. The pace of retirement has accelerated while the population growth has slowed. This great reshuffle, as they've coined it, has impacted industries, especially in hospitality and food service areas. Industries are also hiring at a much higher rate than pre-pandemic. Fast Company reported that from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that 11 million jobs are open now. So as I mentioned earlier, strong company culture is something that many are seeking out after having time during the pandemic to really reassess things in their life. Thinking through the lens of what your associates see and experience daily is one element to keeping that pulse. So, Derek, you had brought something up about your work schedules at your business, Brandywine Printing. Would you share a bit about the scheduling change that you did for your team?
Sure. I don't know, I guess we'd be considered a micro business. Small business, I think, is less than 500. Well, we have less than 5. So, there was a couple things. First off, pre-pandemic, I had to come up, I don't have unlimited resources like some of our large competitors. So I had to come up with a way to have some benefits that were different than other folks were doing. So we would close the office on Fridays to the public, but we would still work. But we did 4 9-hour days and 1 4-hour day. So on Friday, we would start at 7 a.m. and go until 11, but with the doors locked and the phones were off and no email, we're just kind of using it for catch-up time every week. And we planned certain things for that. And it also allowed me to take the staff to do things like Topgolf and from time to time to just be sure they were appreciated working at Brandywine. When COVID hit, the market changed so much that our volume dropped. And I mean, there were weeks where we printed 3 jobs, and there were days where we printed 0 jobs. And my staff was still ready to go, but we didn't have anything to do. So it didn't make sense for us to come in. We did it a couple times. We came in on those Fridays and we were just looking at each other. We're like, the place is as clean as it can be. We have nothing to do. So y'all just go home. So eventually I said, okay, from now on, we're just not going to come in on Fridays. And then there was another thing that we did pre-pandemic. I said we worked 4 9-hour days. We would come in at 7, and from 7 to 8, we had a rule where we didn't talk to each other. It was your time to get your day started for that hour. And I mean, you could ask somebody a question if you needed it to get you forward, but pretty much it was you take care of your stuff. 8 o'clock, we opened the phones wouldn't ring. We had them programmed not to ring. So we unlocked the door and turned the lights on at 8 o'clock, and that started our day. And now we interact with each other and our customers and all that. Well, we didn't have anything to do. So we stopped that too. So we changed our hours from 40-hour week to a 32-hour week. We started doing that, I guess, in May of 2020. And today we are, about 4 weeks ago, we surpassed last year's total revenue, and we're still working 32 hours a week. We still don't work on Fridays. We're closed, and we're not in the building. So our production has actually increased. Our employees, which I call my team, are happy. And they can't, I was having a conversation the other day about our Fridays, and Anthony in my office said, he said, I've done this twice. I wake up and I go have my morning smoke in the garage, and then I go up and get a shower and come to work. I've done that twice on Sunday, thinking that it was Monday because we take Fridays off. So he said, I get a whole extra day that I wasn't even planning on. So there's an emotional connection there that works. And I saw on LinkedIn recently, and I had no idea that, I thought we were special, apparently not. The National Association of Workforce Development Professionals did a 6-month pilot program with over 180 companies that were transitioning from a 4-day, transitioning to a 4-day, 32-hour work week. It's in the UK. And so far, 49% of those companies said productivity has improved, and 46 said it has remained stable. But 86 of them say they'll likely keep the 4-day schedules after the pilots end in November. So I think it's worked for us. and it sounds like it's working around the world. Hopefully it's something we see here.
Absolutely. I'm slightly jealous.
Come on. I'll take you away from the chamber.
Oh, don't say that.
No.
Wait, I think this is being recorded. Hold on.
I can already hear the chamber staff just going, no.
Well, I agree with you. Employers are needing to remain competitive and really think through that corporate model and what it looks like for their teams. More than half of traditionally white-collar workers are still working from home, at least part-time, as of the spring of 2021. And they've even shown that forcing employees back to the office may cause employees to look elsewhere. And I know with job seekers, Monster.com showed that the top 4 preferences of the job seekers are around culture, being appreciated for your work, having a great relationship with your colleagues, enjoying a great work-life balance, and having a great relationship with your boss. So as we know, these skilled industry jobs are in demand, such as manufacturing. It took a huge hit during the pandemic. Manufacturing lost 1.4 million jobs at the onset of the pandemic. In many cases, there are more unfilled jobs than unemployed workers to fill them. At an employer whose sales team, earlier this week, the sales team is now having to sell their products into 2024 because they have sold out of their 2023 products as to what they can actually make and produce. As we think through what can we do and how can we work on this, we can talk about the future talent pipeline. I think we should toot the school's horn a little bit here. So our Forsyth County School graduation rate is at 96.4%. It is the 5th largest out of 180 school districts in Georgia, with over 53,000 students enrolled. Forsyth County Schools is also the largest employer here in Forsyth County. So Valery, could you speak to how long Forsyth County has had the Ctae program? For many, they don't know what Ctae stands for, like myself when I first started. So could you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Well, Ctae is Career, Technical, and Agricultural Education. Across the country, you may see CTE. In Georgia, we add the A for agriculture. So that's a big part of our programs as well. When you think about how long the programs have been open, we may have called them something different. But back in the day, even when Forsyth County High School was here, under the old vocational program type program. And so that's kind of the terminology that we used when many of us were in school. A lot of us were college prep and vocational students, or we just got a vocational seal on our diploma. So there's been a lot of changes over the past 20 to 30 years in what we're doing. But right now, the current state of our programs, they're very much a little bit organized differently in terms of a pathway. At the high school level, students take 3 years in a particular area of focus. So all of our high schools look a little different, but that 3 years, they stay in that pathway. And at the end of that 3rd year, they take some type of industry credentialing exam that should be reflective of an industry entry-level type exam. Students can also articulate college credit in some of these pathways. So if they finish a pathway, they take the industry certification. Then if they're going on to a Board of Regents or a technical college school, there's a lot of programs that articulate now that credit, which is great because they're starting as a different level once they enter maybe a technical college program because they've already demonstrated their knowledge of the industry. So vocational programs, kind of the new norm, career and technical education pathways. We also have very diverse middle school programs that we work through, hopefully as feeder programs to our high school. We're super, super proud of what our middle school programs are doing, and some of them are growing and exceeding some of the, enrollment numbers are just expanding rapidly. So that's really building a stronger high school program for us.
Wonderful. Thank you. So what are some of the pathways? So if an employer wanted to get involved, what might they do? What's an example of that?
So there's 54 different pathways in our county. And so every school looks a little different in terms of what they offer. We have a standalone career and technical education school with Alliance Academy for Innovation those students apply and are chosen through a lottery system each year to attend that school. That's an example of really a lot of this same group of leaders in the community focused on education. That particular school was made possible by that group and community members really supporting those efforts. So those pathways are not offered anywhere else in the district. So things like aerospace, mechatronics, graphic design. There's a focus on emergency medicine there. So EMT, EMR type programs, criminal justice. There's a courtroom in the school that replicates the Forsyth County government. Drones are a big part, a new program that we offered this year, opening FinTech, international business. So that school's a little bit different. The other schools all each have some type of brand. You may have seen recently East Forsyth High School. We've got a focus there on skilled trades, construction. Just opened up a heavy equipment operations pathway there this year. They've got an early childhood education on-site early learning center there that we opened for 3-year-old students in the area. Denmark has a focus on agriculture. That property used to be a working horse farm, and so we were able to keep some of the structures and facilities there, and it's got one of the top vet science programs now in the country. Forsyth Central certainly is known for their STEM Academy. They've got a film academy that opened recently, a humanities academy. Lambert High School has probably one of the largest healthcare science programs in the country, and what they're doing with phlebotomy and sports medicine there. North Forsyth High School's got a focus again with healthcare, ROTC. They've also got an ag focus. South Forsyth, again, some of the strongest and largest marketing programs in the country. And West Forsyth High School, again, lots of programs, cosmetology, culinary arts, and a lot of different schools. But West Forsyth has a program around leadership in partnership with Junior Achievement called the 3DE Leadership Academy. So every school's got consistent programs, but they've all kind of got their niche too of what kind of they're known for.
Wow, that's a lot. I've toured a couple of the schools, and they're building an airplane at Alliance. I mean, that is just shocking to walk into a classroom and see wings of a plane having to be riveted down is impressive.
Let's just think about that for a moment. There are high school kids that are building an airplane.
They're looking for volunteers to take the first flight too.
Well, I believe one of the teachers that shall remain nameless has agreed to do just that. So the blueprints are laid out and they are following it to a T. It's quite impressive.
My dad has actually built that. He's built a couple experimental aircraft, and what that plane they're building is one of them that he built. He actually went in and consulted a little bit with, is it Mr. Slocum there? Is that
Salome?
Salome, that's right. That's right. You, Brooke, you mentioned that Forsyth County Schools has 52,000 students enrolled, and I've heard 53. I've heard Dr. Bearden mention that is the Braves Stadium only holds like 46,000. So to put that in perspective, that we can't fit all of our students in the Braves Stadium is just extraordinary for me, because I grew up here, as did Valery, and that's not been the case, but it is now, and it's pretty awesome. So
it is, and to have that graduation rate along with it is impressive, because that's 53,000 students that are making it happen. Right. And then we have Dr. Lowe's team that is preparing them for the workforce to come back to Forsyth County and really make an impact here, which is just incredible and will make our county all the better.
Well, and the graduation rate for CTAE students, so if you're enrolled in a pathway, is over 99% in our county. So that relevance piece really comes through, that the kids, in a lot of ways, that's what excites them in the morning to come to school. That's their teacher that they probably connected the most with, because they're spending so much time with that teacher. A part of what our teachers do a great job of, in every pathway, there is a CTSO component to that, and that's Career Tech Student Organizations. So things like FFA or FBLA, DECA, those are really, really important to our students, because they provide that leadership opportunity. So last year, again, we dipped a little bit during COVID, but last year we had almost 18,000 Career Tech students that were members of these organizations. So that is keeps students very busy, because they're able to compete at region, state, and nationals in those events. So that's another area that I really think Forsyth stands out in terms of that level of involvement.
Mm-hmm. To be engaged, it's impressive. Absolutely. So let's talk about some of the events that are coming up. How is Forsyth County Schools equipping students to prepare for the workforce? I know we have a couple of October events that are approaching.
Yes, so we've got a busy October. The events that we try to plan for our students are just getting them out of the classroom in a lot of ways and into the community. Just that little spark of seeing what it looks like to be in a manufacturing facility or an IT company or that kind of thing. So some of the great partnerships that we've had a long time with the Chamber are coming up. One of those is National Manufacturing Day. That's where we take students out of every high school, put them on a bus and do industry tours. And so that allows almost 250 students that opportunity. And again, that community partnership piece for companies allowing us to bring, juniors and seniors into their facility and taking the time to explain what is happening, the value of that industry. Sometimes they learn more about, education levels, industry, credentialing that they need, earning potential, because that speaks a lot to students when you're talking about how much money they could make and that kind of thing. But that's one. Another thing that we do for our 8th grade students and allow our high school students to experience as well, we've kind of rebranded, but a career exploration discovery event that we do usually every October and November. We're doing it at the Forsyth Conference Center on October 11th and 12th, and that is allowing our 8th grade students, we've got over 4,500, I think, or ish, around that number, students where they will come during sequence times during the day to basically have a tour of what high school pathways look like. We've added fine arts this year because we know a lot of our students participate in fine arts as well, but they're going to be able to really meet with the high school teachers, kind of learn more about the pathway, just get a little bit more information, meet industry professionals that'll be there kind of set up as a with a booth to talk to students about what they do every day for a living. So that's a really, really big event that takes a lot of manpower each year to kind of plan and organize. And, we appreciate our partnership with the Chamber, Northside Hospital, Georgia Power. There's a lot of folks, as well as the Forsyth Conference Center, that help that, make that event happen. But that will, again, allow our over 4,500 8th grade students the ability to go in and kind of test out, if you will, a little bit of the pathways, see some of the equipment or simulators that might be used at the high school, and just kind of get them excited about, in January or February, making that decision as a 9th grader of what pathways those students want to enter. They also have the opportunity, usually in January or February, to tour labs with their families, so get into the schools and tour labs. And again, hopefully by the time they're high school students and start thinking about internships or, mentorships with community members, this year, we've got about 800 students, believe it or not. We're super proud of that in the community that are experiencing that as a junior or senior. And that just means that a company is bringing them in, letting them do what we may have done through a co-op or a work-study program years ago. But again, it's very much defined and matched to their pathway. So if I'm in culinary arts, we're going to help place that student in a culinary arts occupation, marketing, engineering, et cetera. So that program is growing. We have some awesome career development coordinators with Forsyth County Schools that help lead those efforts and really work and serve kind of as a safeguard, if you will, between an employer and the student to make that year-long internship successful. So a lot of students in clinical settings, Northside Hospital. We've got a lot of kids at Forsyth County in the jail and that area of operations with the sheriff's office. So just a lot of really neat examples of things that students are doing that were probably a lot of college seniors have not experienced.
That's great. No, this is a great way to start a pipeline of talent. I believe that the employment crisis is not just going to solve itself. Internships are a great way to get to know a person's work ethic and fit for the overall company culture. Could you speak to a little bit on the employer side and what are the requirements or what the employer has to do to be part of an internship or to fulfill their obligation side for the school?
Sure. Well, we're unique, and I'm not telling you all anything that you don't know, but we've got a lot of small businesses in the county. And so we work one-on-one with companies to maybe they've heard the program before, or maybe we meet them or have some type of interaction just to talk to them a little bit more on the mentoring side. Could a student come in and maybe we just job shadow a kind of experience, or they're doing some career-related research, but The other side of that is the internship program, work-based learning. You might have heard it referred to as well. But from an employer standpoint, a lot of education about what that looks like, because it is a little bit intimidating to take on a 16, 17, or 18-year-old student and putting them in that professional environment. So it's got to be an employer that's willing to be that mentor, because that's a big piece of it. You can't just take a high school student who probably has never been employed other than doing things around their house for their families and putting them in that professional environment. We hope that we've done our job as a school district to prepare them just for, business etiquette and those basic employability skills, showing up on time, knowing how to handle their phones and, at work and those types of things. But a big part of that is, got to be that it's got to be mutually beneficial for the student as well as the employer for production. But usually with our small businesses, if we can talk them into hiring one student, and again, it can be paid or unpaid, but one student getting through that experience, they'll usually take students, year after year. So it just takes the education piece. Some companies are a little bit unsure of what to do if they're under 18. And certainly there are certain occupations that they can and cannot do, depending on their age. But one of the things that we do is work on, sometimes agreements between the entity and the school district to make sure that our students are safe and doing what they need to be doing. But again, it's just got to be mutually beneficial. We can't say that enough when we're meeting with our partners. We try to make intake easier, training, orientation, and then again, just working with the employer to know that it could be more of a rotation approach to an intern where they want them to experience all the different parts of their company. Or it could be that they want to hire one specific student for one specific niche position that they're looking to fill. Employers love our students because they're so technology savvy, right? They can do anything. They can make video. They can produce podcasts. They can manage a lot of the things that some employers are may struggle with. Marketing and business plans, coming in and just taking a fresh look at their marketing, those types of things. So it's been a great program. It's grown rapidly over the years, but I think the thing that I say most with employers is these students don't have to be in the program. And so they've taken that initiative. They've finished a pathway or are finishing a pathway while enrolled. So this is kind of the cream of the crop. These kids are very anxious and eager to get involved. They love the industry. They love their pathway that they were in. And so typically those are the kinds of students that you'd want working for you because they've got that experience.
And I can speak as an employer. I've had 7 interns from Forsyth County Schools at Brandywine Printing. And one of them continues to come. I mean, now he's getting a job with Granger, I think it is, or not Granger, Garmin, the GPS. He's a fantastic art student, and now will make a fantastic employee. I will never be able to afford to pay him what he's going to make. He's amazing, but he's the only one that came back and worked for us. He worked for us all through college. Anytime that he had time and I had money, we would connect. With my best intern experience aside from him was a young lady who came to us with plans to be a graphic designer, and we put her in that role at our shop. And at the end of the school year, I said, "So what's the biggest thing you learned?" And and I didn't know this until I asked that question. She said, "I learned that I still love graphic design, but I don't love doing it for other people." And so she literally changed the degree that she was planning to major in. She changed her major to pursue a different degree, totally not in the graphic design space. So to know that we were able to help her figure that out, while you might look at it as a failure, but I don't, because I've seen people do things that they shouldn't be doing with their life. And it's awesome that opportunity was there for her to figure out, and that we had a little bit to do with it.
Well, and she saved 4 years worth of college tuition there.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
as a parent,
yay. That's right.
Yay for that one. And spent it hopefully in the correct way for the right degree there. With the internships, I do think that it is important for employers to look at that. Whether it's an extra 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, that can ease the burden that is put on your strained staff. right now. So bring those fresh minds in and put them to work for sure.
So I've talked to other employers who have not experienced the program, and there's hesitancy sometimes because they're afraid of the student that they're going to be matched up with. And we interview the students just like they're coming to work here for a job, and I take their personality into account, and we'll put them through a DISC profile so that we know how they're going to fit with our people, and make sure that we're getting a person that can do what we expect them to do, and that they're going to fit with our culture as well. So it's an interview process, just like hiring somebody. And I have interviewed there was one year I interviewed and I didn't select a student because I didn't feel like any of them were going to be a fit for us. So I think that can be scary if you don't understand that you can make those kind of decisions.
So Valery, other than internships, are there a couple of other ways that a business can get involved based on their schedule, from way involved to just a little dabble?
Well, that's one area of focus that we've been working on, making it easier to communicate with the community and business and industry of the best ways to get involved that works for them. And so we've tried to develop some, materials that explain kind of the programs that we offer. We've also launched a site outside of the school system's website called forsythctae.org. And that has really been kind of an easier place to land for businesses to kind of, if you will, sign up for maybe what they're interested in. So things like, maybe I just want to come to an advisory council meeting for my industry a couple of times a year. We have employers that will host a teacher for a day for that externship experience. We've got a lot of teachers who may have never been in industry, or it's been a while since they've been in industry. And so the teacher externships are a big thing for companies to allow us to, again, just have a teacher come shadow them for a day. Other things, just to traditional classroom speaking, we have community mock interviews for our pathway completers in the spring each year. That event alone allows, I think last year, over 500 business leaders in the community to spend a day or a half a day in a school preparing students sometimes for the very first interview that they've ever had. Competitive event judging, I mentioned the CTSOs, those students compete nationally, but they start with this time of year. They're getting started in what event they want to compete in. And so that's something that along the year, it's amazing to have someone from the community come in just to work one-on-one or with that group of students that are competing in a certain event around a business or marketing or engineering project or whatever they're working on. Other things that are important for us are student recognition, of course, is a big part. So we have a big excellence awards gala that we started last year that will continue this year, just to recognize the outstanding things that are happening in the classroom and outside of the classroom. We are also focused on making sure that we have provided work experience and job-related opportunities for students who are transitioning out of the school district with perhaps some type of special need or some type of additional transition services. And so that's another area that we've got companies interested in helping us with those types of students who may or may not go on to college or maybe have something that they need a little bit more support as they transition into the workforce. We also have other ways just helping us with curriculum, looking at our standards and seeing maybe where their business might come into helping us demonstrate or provide resources for that standard, as well as equipment. When we're working on new programs or new schools, Derek's a good example of that. He was on a committee early on when we were thinking about Alliance, especially with his industry with graphic design, of what equipment would be the most relevant, because we want to make sure that the classroom equipment reflects what our students are going to experience in the workforce. So there's tons of ways to get involved, from just a little bit of a dabble into CTAE to really helping with a lot of different areas. But that forsythctae.org really helps us kind of get an idea and indication, and allows our volunteers to kind of document that experience and volunteer time that they're spending in our classrooms.
I think it's super important that our employers know that they can have a hand in, I don't want to say controlling, but in influence in what our students are learning that could benefit their industry or their place of business here in Forsyth County. I mean, our goal is to educate our kids so they can work here and stay here, and everybody wins.
And I think another really cool addition that is a benefit and a value is being a chamber member. And Derek, I think you've participated in this. So the chamber for a long time has partnered with the school system to host Principal for a Day, where it really gives business owners an opportunity to go in and shadow a principal for an entire day. And I've heard tons of stories because we host a breakfast after the event where everyone's going around and talking about all the cool things. And I think it gives a lot of business owners a very stark, up close glance of what it is like to run a school. So, and that's coming up really soon as well. So if you're interested, it's definitely a benefit of being a chamber member. We definitely offer that to our chamber members before the rest of the community, but it's a cool event.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. A principal is a CEO of a building with a lot of moving pieces and a lot of people in it. And when you see it in action, it's impressive and fantastic.
Right.
It's a lot of fun.
I can imagine.
And you can see how intentional our principals have been chosen for the job that they're doing. This is not, we got a person in a spot, let's put the person in the spot. It's the right person in the right spot.
Right.
It's fantastic.
Wonderful. Well, as we close out, I would be remiss if we did not talk a little bit more about the current talent pipeline, because I'm sure there's people on here wondering, well, what about now? And asking where that magic wand is for now. So, as part of the Forsyth County Chamber's Workforce Development Initiative, we aim to focus on helping our businesses throughout the community with business consultation sessions as well as customized recruitment strategies. So we know that a customized recruitment strategy is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Each business requires a different approach. It may be the need to upskill their current team, or if it's a retention challenge, we may need to look at the pay scale, and even the culture. Is there training provided to associates? Is it an ongoing training? Or is it just your initial training and you have a week and then you're thrown onto the job to the wolves? And what does the onboarding process look like? Because that really sets the tone for these associates. So that is something that we do as part of the chamber. And we also understand that when you're short-staffed, a lot of the leaders and managers, they have to jump into the business, and that takes them away from being able to recruit. In order to assist with that hiring process, we are doing career fairs for the community to participate in. And this allows those job seekers a one-stop shop to see what is out there, to hopefully shorten their commute, to the commuters that are exiting Forsyth County to go into other counties to work. We want them to work here in Forsyth County. I think our last number from that we had was about 86,000 commuters leaving the county to work at another outside county's business. So if we help them, we can help that work-life balance that we mentioned. And if they work closer to home, their quality of life would improve.
If I'm not mistaken, about the same amount of people are coming into the county. And if you add that up, it equals traffic. So, yes, that's just one little byproduct of raising our own, teaching our own, and employing our own.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this has been incredibly informative, and I so appreciate hearing from all of you today. It's just been really interesting because I know it's just kind of a stressful time, not only on the employee side, but the employer side. It can be, so just hearing kind of like what it looks like for the current and future pipeline is really impressive. So kudos to each of you, because I know it's a very stressful time, and I just applaud you for jumping in and leading this initiative. So thank you, Brooke, Valerie, and Derek for joining us today. And a huge thank you to Amanda Pierce of Forsyth Business RadioX. She is the woman behind the curtain and our production partner for producing today's show. If you would like to be part of the Career Exploration Day that was mentioned, that's happening October 11th and 12th, please visit the Chamber's website at focochamber.org for more details. Also, if you would like to hear more about what's happening in Forsyth County, be sure to subscribe to FOCO Talks on your favorite podcast platform. We share a new episode each month, so be sure to tune in to learn about all of the happenings in Forsyth County. You can stay connected with us on social media. The Chamber can be found on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube simply by searching FOCO Chamber. If you're interested in learning more about becoming a member of the Forsyth County Chamber, or to hear about some of the recruitment and retention strategies, or to participate in one of the upcoming job career fairs that Brooke mentioned earlier, visit focoworks.org. For today, I'm your host, Michelle Daniels, and this has been FOCO Talks on Forsyth Business RadioX.